To get you ready for the new year, WC9 is asking, where's the money? Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of WC9 News. I'm Marcella Robertson. After a tough year financially, we want to help you get your money in order for 2026. Between the bills, tariffs, and inflation, if you feel like you're always worrying about your finances, you are not alone. Wisdom Martin kicks things off with a report that looks at how much time we're thinking and stressing about money.
According to a new Empower survey, Americans are spending almost 4 hours a day thinking about money. That's equivalent to a part-time job. So what's top of mind? Inflation, rising prices, but housing costs, tariffs, debt, and retirement savings are also on our minds. Gen Z and millennials are spending the most time worrying, averaging 4 hours per day. Gen Z is the most likely to think about money in the late afternoon between 2 and 5 p.m. Millennials and Gen X report an uptick in one financial thought between 8 and 11 p.m. Baby boomers spend about 2.5 hours a day thinking about money. Across the board, most people say they're thinking about money more than they did last year. And 62% of Gen Xers say that they're feeling financial stress more acutely than ever. If money is on your mind, financial experts recommend doing a personal spending audit, building small habits over time, and reaching out for help. Experts say the best advice to relieve financial stress: take action, work with, and stick to a detailed budget.
And one big stressor, credit card debt. LendingTree says Americans have accrued more than $1.2 trillion of debt nationwide. The average unpaid credit card balance is more than $7,300 a person. So let's talk about ways to tackle that credit card debt.
According to a new Bankrate survey, almost half of all credit card holders say they have a credit card balance, and a quarter say they don't think they'll ever pay it off.
Credit card debt is easy to get into and hard to get out of.
Ted Rossman with Bankrate says unlike car loans, student loans, or mortgages, credit cards come with some of the highest interest rates in the country, currently hovering around 20%. He says carrying a balance doesn't just dip into your future finances, it also means you're stacking interest on top of interest.
The problem's not going to go away on its own. If you make minimum payments towards the average credit card balance at the average rate, you're in debt for 18 years, and you end up paying more than $9,000 in interest. It goes to show how systemic this issue can be as far as high prices, high interest rates, kind of compounding on each other.
So how do you tackle that credit card debt?
Don't delay, because credit card debt is probably your highest cost debt by a wide margin. If you make minimum payments, you're going to be stuck in debt for a really long time, but there are things you can do to lessen that bite. My favorite tip is to get a 0% balance transfer credit card. With some cards, you can avoid interest for 2 years. Other cards have 21-month offers. Nonprofit credit counseling is another good option. If you have a lower credit score or a lot of debt, that may be your best option. Really what you want to do here is bring the interest rate down for as long as possible.
Rossman says you can turbocharge your approach by cutting your expenses, taking on a side hustle, and selling stuff you don't need.
Credit card debt often has practical causes, but still, you want to get on the right side of this. You want to be among the roughly half of cardholders who are paying in full every month, because that's when cards work for you, not against you. It's why people say credit cards can be like power tools, as in really useful or dangerous. It's all about how you use them.
Of course, a lot of credit card debt can impact your credit score. The higher your score, the better deals you can get on things like mortgages, car insurance, and loans. But credit scores are falling at the fastest pace since the Great Recession. After dropping last year, the national average FICO score dropped again by 2 points this year. That is the most since 2009. FICO also found a growing share of borrowers. They're falling behind on car loans, credit cards, even personal loans. Younger Americans are getting hit with a double whammy: high student debt and low entry-level hiring. The findings underscore the growing disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. U.S. stocks have been hitting record highs this year, while a significant chunk of Americans say they are hurting. And there's something new now being factored into your credit score: buy now, pay later programs. They have skyrocketed in popularity over the last few years. More than 3/4 of Americans now use buy now, pay later services like Klarna or Afterpay. Younger shoppers use it the most, more than credit cards. But here's why this could cause problems later on.
Buy now, pay later is just another way of getting into trouble.
A new LendingTree survey shows 1 in 4 buy now, pay later users are using it for groceries, up sharply from last year. And 41% admit to missing payments, raising concerns that this quick fix could lead to deeper debt.
I think of this as what I call the treadmill of debt. Okay. We've all seen those maybe reels on social media of the person on the treadmill running, and then it gets going faster and faster. And the next thing you know, they get smacked against the wall. I think that's kind of what this is. This is another way of stepping onto that treadmill, and you got to be really careful.
Buy now, pay later loans allow you to split up purchases into several smaller payments, a popular alternative to credit cards because they don't charge interest, but you can rack up late fees. The Lending Tree survey finds 60% of buy now, pay later users say they've had multiple loans at once, sometimes 3 or more at the same time.
Try to pay these things as fast as possible off and then just not do it again.
It's easy to see why buy now, pay later loans are tempting, especially with grocery prices. They're expected to go up 3.3% this year, according to the USDA.
You don't have to wait until you get the statement to pay it. If you get paid every Friday, maybe just take a bit and throw it at it every Friday, or if it's every 2 weeks, frequently as you possibly can, so that you can dig out of that hole quick as you can.
And we mentioned those buy now, pay later programs can impact your credit score, but let's talk about ways you can improve that score. As I found out, it has nothing to do with what you're spending your money on.
When it comes to calculating your credit score, factors like your payment history, paying bills on time, and the length of credit history all play a big part. But experts want you to keep a close eye on your credit utilization rate. Now, if you're confused about what that even means, you're not alone. So what exactly is your credit utilization rate?
Credit utilization is the percentage of your total available credit limit that you're using. And there's a simple formula.
Here's the breakdown. Say you have a credit card with a $5,000 credit limit and you have a $2,500 balance. You are using 50% of your available credit. That's a 50% credit utilization rate, which experts warn is high.
So there is a rule of thumb that you would try as best as you can to avoid a credit utilization ratio of over 30%, but lower is better. So 10% and below is really good.
And even if you pay on time, experts say carrying a high balance relative to your limit is not good for your credit health.
Having a higher credit utilization ratio makes lenders anxious because they like to see that you're basically on top of your finances, that you have bills to pay and you have the money to pay them on time every month. And when you are using a higher percentage of your credit limit and you have greater balances on your cards and greater debt, it can show them that you are potentially at risk of being in financial distress, and that means you might not be able to pay your bills on time.
If your credit ratio is high, experts say bring it down by making payments earlier than their due date or making smaller multiple payments throughout the month. That'll keep your existing balances low, which lets lenders know your credit utilization is on the lower end, and that can help you boost your score.
Now let's look at some ways to tackle that debt. Consolidation is an option, but that can be complicated. Wisdom Martin walks us through some pros and cons.
Debt consolidation is a financial strategy that involves rolling up multiple debts into one payment. It can simplify your payments and may get you a lower interest rate, but is it right for you? Financial advisor and coach Maureen Paley says debt consolidation might make sense for you if you have high interest rate debt spread across multiple loans and credit cards.
Sometimes debt consolidation can be helpful because usually it just wraps things up in one payment. And people like that for ease of simplicity.
Paley says one way to do that is by getting a personal loan from your bank and use that money to pay off your other debt. But make sure the interest rate on your new loan is lower than what you're currently paying and that you can pay the monthly payments. Also, keep in mind the loan amount and interest rate you qualify for.
This can be a good way to hit the brakes on it spiraling out of control. But keep in mind, if you use a loan to do that, you still have a debt burden and you still have to pay that loan that's now going to pay off the other debts.
If you want professional help, Paley warns a debt consolidation company could charge a fee.
In my time as a financial coach and counselor, I have seen people making monthly payments in debt consolidation that was way more than what they needed to be paying.
So Paley encourages you to take matters into your own hands.
All of us as consumers of credit can take the same steps that the debt consolidation companies take. They're not doing anything that we already don't have the power to do.
You might also be able to get free help from Green Path Financial Wellness. It's a national nonprofit that helps people build financial health and resiliency. You can also find free debt consolidation calculators online, like this one from NerdWallet.
Now, if you decide to work with a debt consolidation company, experts remind you to get everything in writing, including all associated costs. If you're dealing with debt, you may also need to help build up your savings. A survey suggests fewer than half of Americans would be able to pay for an unexpected bill costing $1,000 or more. Our Simone Diablo talks about ways to set aside more money in your savings.
When it comes to putting money away, it appears many Americans don't have enough savings.
I think the first thing that people need to do is just to simply make their personal finances a priority.
Bankrate recently surveyed more than 1,000 adults about spending. When asked if they could pay for a $1,000 emergency, only around 41% said they had enough savings to cover a bill like that. 25% said they would put that charge on a credit card, which means that $1,000 bill could become a lot more if you don't pay it off in time due to interest.
That really raises the risk that all of a sudden we have a larger pile of debt that we have to retire, and frankly, there will be another sudden or emergency expense down the road that will only make it more challenging for us to accomplish all of our financial goals.
The most worrisome finding, 27% of adults say they have no emergency savings at all. So how can you make sure that you're putting enough away? Hamrick suggests creating a budget.
We need to identify how much we're paying for things and to isolate some of the things that are either unnecessary or too costly that we can manage from our budget.
First, calculate how much you spend on necessities, housing costs, utilities, food, car payments, phone and internet, and cable cost. Then figure out what you can put into savings. Financial experts recommend having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in a savings account. Hamrick suggests putting money into a high-yield savings account, which means you'll be making higher interest on that money. But make sure that there aren't any penalties or time constraints on withdrawals, so you'll be able to take out money when you need it most.
Apart from emergency savings, also a good idea to have a separate account for when you retire. We're focusing on that retirement account coming up next. Stay with us. We're back with more of our Where's the Money special as we prepare for the new year. When it comes to putting money away for retirement, experts recommend you start saving as soon as possible. According to a study by Northwestern Mutual, the average amount Americans believe they need to retire comfortably is a whopping $1.26 million. Simone Dialba takes a look at the different types of retirement accounts available and how much you should be putting away each year.
The cost of living continues to rise, and that means you'll need more money for retirement. But when should you start saving, and just how much do you need?
There's really no such thing as too early.
Samuel Taub is an investing writer for NerdWallet. Earlier this year, they conducted a survey and found 39% of Americans said not having enough saved for retirement was a financial concern. The most common types of retirement accounts are an IRA, which is controlled by you, or a 401k, which is sponsored by your employer, and many companies will match what you put in.
IRAs typically don't cost anything to open. Even contributing a small amount if you're fresh out of college and waiting tables can still make a big difference down the line.
Here's how much Fidelity Investments suggests you have in savings. By 30, you should have 1 times your salary, and it goes up by age. By 67, you should have 10 times your salary in a retirement account, but a lot depends on where you live and your lifestyle.
If you're living in a high cost of living or even medium cost of living area, that number may be north of $1 million.
Go Banking Rates recently broke down how much you need to retire wealthy. In popular retirement communities like Prescott, Arizona, you need just over $1.8 million to retire for 20 years. In Naples, Florida, you need just under that. Other ways to grow your retirement savings are investing in the market or even cryptocurrencies.
Once you get older and closer to retirement, the general consensus is that you're supposed to shift your portfolio into safer assets like a heavier bond allocation in order to preserve your money against the possibility of a downturn.
A financial advisor can help you reach your retirement goals.
And unfortunately, this year, people are turning to their retirement accounts to cover everyday expenses. But experts warn taking money out of your 401k early, it could do more harm than good to your overall financial health. Here's Wisdom Martin.
Generally speaking, it's not a good idea to take money out of your 401k early. But a recent report by the Wall Street Journal finds a record number of 401k holders took early withdrawals last year, with more than a third citing foreclosure or evictions as the reason for tapping into those funds.
I think we're seeing it mainly because we're still dealing with the effects of inflation over the past several years. And now the current economic environment also includes a lot of uncertainty.
Whatever the reason, experts say first crunch the numbers and then look at the numbers very closely.
Make sure that the cash that you eventually get after the penalties and taxes are going to be what you actually need.
Paley says withdrawing from your 401k before age 59 and a half is considered early and can trigger up to 20% in penalties and taxes, so plan carefully before tapping into these funds.
Some people might be needing fast cash now that they don't want to go out and get a loan for. Maybe they don't qualify for a loan to get that cash, but they do have it in their 401k. But it's always important to remember it comes with penalties.
The best advice, know your numbers and have a plan for how you'll use that cash. Experts say withdrawing from your 401k might make financial sense if you're using that money to pay down high interest debt that you're struggling to pay off.
Consider it very carefully and also come up with a plan to get back into investments in another way, maybe in a separate account in a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, where you can get back into that opportunity of building those investments over time.
And remember, taking money out of your 401k early means losing out on future growth. Your investments stop working for you the moment you cash out.
If you're somebody who has plenty of time to make it up, this might be a reasonable option for you.
But if you're older and nearing retirement, Paley recommends figuring out how much you'll need each month and year to cover expenses once you do retire.
And understand, if I make this withdrawal now, how many more years do I have to keep working and contributing to still get to that same dollar amount?
President Donald Trump signed an executive order this year that could make it easier for 401k plans to offer alternative investment options, including private equity. Typically, 401k plans have primarily offered publicly traded stock and bond funds. They are less expensive and less risky. Right now, this will only apply to any personal 401k plans you hold. So far, there's no official policy guidance for employers about how to provide access to alternative options. Experts say any changes to workplace retirement plans would likely take a while. Employers' 401k plans would have to divulge details on fees, investment strategy, and prior performance. And while we are talking about retirement, we also need to talk about estate planning. It is tough to talk about, but a study shows only 24% of Americans actually have a will. The same survey finds the main reason for that: procrastination. 43% of people say they just haven't gotten around to it. But here's an easy place to start. There are 2 legal documents everyone should have ready, even if you haven't worked out the rest of your estate planning yet. Here's wisdom again.
Despite a big surge in planning sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic, many people still don't have a meaningful estate plan in place because, unfortunately, life can get in the way. And while a comprehensive estate plan has documents that protect your interests and wishes, the 2 documents that are vital are the healthcare proxy and durable power of attorney documents. Let's explain. The healthcare proxy lets you appoint a trusted person as your healthcare agent and allows them to make medical decisions for you if you can't. Experts say this document is especially important if you've turned 18 because you're now considered an adult and your parents are no longer your default guardians. The other document is the durable power of attorney. This lets you appoint an attorney in fact who's responsible for making financial decisions on your behalf if you can't. This one's important because being incapacitated does not let you out of your financial obligations. Experts say having these 2 legal documents will save you and your loved ones time, money, and can protect your wishes and privacy.
Now, you can certainly create these documents using online services, but experts say you're better off working with a licensed attorney in your state, and you'll want to hire someone who handles estate planning regularly because legal documents are just too important to risk getting wrong. To find someone for this service, first check with your employer. Some companies, they actually offer estate planning and legal services as part of their benefits package. Still to come, more adults are relying on their parents for financial help, but that age group is most likely to get scammed. We'll share ways to protect your money when we come back. We are back with more of our Where's the Money special as we prepare for the new year. More and more parents are finding themselves footing the bill for their children well into adulthood. Jill Schlesinger shares ways to set boundaries for your support.
The demands on time and money come with the territory of parenthood. But for many moms and dads, these pressures continue even as their children become adults. A recent report found that 3/4 of parents are footing the bill for their children's one-time goals, such as a wedding or a down payment for a home. More than 6 in 10 are covering ongoing expenses like living expenses and phone bills, and nearly half are paying for health insurance. And let's face it, the economic realities are still challenging in the post-pandemic era. So how can you help but not enable your adult children? Start by determining whether helping them puts you in any financial peril. Then have open and honest conversations with them and explain that you can be a backstop in the event of an emergency like the loss of a job or illness or divorce, but you can't provide ongoing support that would prevent you from saving for yourself. If you can afford to help, discuss how long the arrangement will last and agree to revisit the situation every 6 months. In New York, I'm Jill Schlesinger.
All right, never too early to think about tax time. In fact, now is the time to make moves to make sure you get the maximum refund. We have expert advice on the other side of the break. Welcome back to our Where's the Money special. We are helping you get your finances in order to start the new year off right. Let's talk about taxes. They are not due until April 16th of 2026, but you can start filing as soon as the end of January. We do want to clear up one question we're seeing about IRS Direct File. The program that let you file your taxes directly with the IRS, that is going away, but the IRS Free File program, that is sticking around. Anyone who earns $84,000 or less can still file their taxes for free electronically. The Trump administration says the Direct File program is just costing too much, a total of $41 million, and they found only 1.5% of filers actually used the program.
Clearly, they found out that it wasn't nearly as efficient as what was already existing out there in the industry. At that price, it would have been much cheaper for them just to hand out vouchers for folks to go and use other paid preparers at that point.
So again, the Direct File program established by the Biden administration is going away, but Free File is sticking around and will likely see upgrades for this next tax year. Well, donations to charity can be a win-win, making an impact in our community and helping you maximize your tax refund. Jill Schlesinger offers tips on your charitable giving goals.
This time of year often inspires people to give back to their communities and share what they can. Here are a few things to keep in mind before you donate. To get a tax break for charitable giving in 2025, you must itemize your deductions. But most people don't itemize because they get a bigger benefit from the standard deduction. If you take the standard deduction, you may want to save your giving for next year. Starting in 2026, standard filers can claim a new charitable deduction up to $1,000, and joint filers it's $2,000. This applies to cash gifts only that go directly to a qualifying public charity. Whether or not Uncle Sam rewards you for giving, you still want to follow a few best practices. As a rule, do not donate over the phone or give anyone your credit card or other personal information until you confirm it's legit. You can use the IRS tax-exempt organization search tool to verify an organization. And be alert for fraud. The IRS recommends avoiding charities that ask for donations by gift card or wire transfer and warns that scammers use names that sound like well-known charities to confuse people. They may also come on strong, demanding immediate payment. So if you get the hard sell, walk away. In New York, I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
All right, we know this is a busy time of year. You're cooking big holiday meals, entertaining, hosting, shopping for gifts. But there's something else happening during the holiday season that you cannot miss. It is time for open enrollment. This is the time to sign up for health insurance, and it can be hard to work out what your family needs and what you can actually afford to pay. Simone Dialba spoke with the experts to break down what you need to know.
Let's start with the basics. How long does the open enrollment period last?
It started November 1st, and this year will go through January 15th. But what's important to remember about that is if you are seeking coverage for January 1st, you must enroll by December 31st. Anyone who enrolls in January will get February 1st coverage.
Remembering those dates can vary a bit depending on where you live. There are different plans to choose from depending on your needs. We asked what's available and for an example of cost.
We have 4 different levels of plans: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And bronze usually has the highest deductible, least benefits. Silver would provide most benefits, especially for low-income people. And then gold, of course, is a richer plan. It's different based on your situation. If you're a low utilizer, one plan might be better. All of our plans cover hospitalization, immunization, mental health, substance use treatment. So there's a lot of services covered, a lot of pre-deductible, no-cost services. So this year, unfortunately, for the first time in many years, we saw double-digit increases when the rates were approved. So here is an example for a family of 4 in Maryland, adults age 45 and 43 that make $80,375 combined. They can anticipate paying $419 a month in 2026 compared to $271 a month they paid in 2025. So it has gone up 55%.
Those plans don't include vision or dental coverage, but you can purchase additional plans to fill that gap. Our expert had this message for anyone considering going without health insurance because of the cost.
Think twice. You never know when you're going to have an illness, when you're going to have cancer that shows up unexpectedly, when you're going to have a significant injury you had not expected. And again, remember that health coverage is no longer just for catastrophic medical debt, but there's a lot of things for keeping you well: colonoscopy checks, mammographies, etc. So there is plans that will fit every need, and there still are affordable plans.
Now, most of what you just heard applies for D.C. and Virginia's open enrollment as well. The biggest thing experts wanted us to share is you don't have to do this alone. Right now on your screen, we've shared the websites you can visit for help, whether you live in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia. So go ahead and take a picture, save this information. On each of these websites, you can find answers to some frequently asked questions. You can even schedule an appointment to get a one-on-one help. We know the cost of living has skyrocketed these days. One big pain, your energy bill. We'll talk about why it could go up again and ways your home improvement projects could save you some money coming up next. We know scammers are always on the prowl, finding new ways to trick you out of your hard-earned money. And sometimes it's hard to notice anything's gone wrong until it's too late. Wisdom Martin takes you through some paperwork that can help flag fraud and protect your money.
Scams happen to the people we love.
There are some really powerful stories out there about people who have a lot of common sense, very smart, very intelligent people who get caught up in things they never would imagine they've gotten caught up in.
Kate Ashford with NerdWallet said it's important to consider safeguards before a loss. However, they're not foolproof. A good starting point, adding a trusted contact to accounts.
They will contact you if they think that your parent is involved in something and making bad decisions. And then you can be the person in the position of being like, Mom, what's happening? But you can't actually make any decisions on their behalf.
So a heads up is where your power as a trusted contact stops. The next option, power of attorney.
They should have estate planning with a power of attorney named for finances and healthcare. And that is a person that can make decisions on your parent's behalf. It doesn't supersede your parent's decision unless your parent is incapacitated.
And again, unless the criteria is met, a family member can still give away money to criminals, setting up the framework to help spot red flags.
Well, this year we have reported on how electric bills have skyrocketed for some people in the winter and a bit more this summer. It doesn't look like they'll be coming down anytime soon. Our Matt Gregory walks us through the impact we'll see over the next year, especially in Maryland.
You may not know this, but this energy substation, all of our electricity, it's part of a 13-state grid. And every summer that grid holds an energy auction, which helps determine prices in your energy bill. Well, if you were hoping to see your bill go down in the near future after this year's auction, it's not looking good. When you got your power bill this summer, did you feel
angry?
Like Catherine McBride?
Every summer, it seems like the utility company raised my bill about $100 more.
Or maybe it only went up a little.
Obviously, I don't like it. I mean, we pay enough.
Either way, it can feel out of your control.
I got 3 daughters. They like keep it chilly in the house. You know what I mean? I'm telling them just, open the window a little teeny bit.
And in one big way, it is the summer energy auction.
I am expecting prices to continue to be high.
To explain, we talked to an energy markets expert, Danielle Powers of Concentric Energy Advisors.
A multi-state grid allows you to capture the efficiencies of different kinds of resources.
This summer, PJM, the 13-state grid operator that supplies the DMV's energy, had its capacity auction. It's part of what determines your utility bill. And the auction results, for the second year in a row, skyrocketed in costs.
Demand has been going up. Supply has been leaving the system faster than it can be added.
Powers says the explosion of new data centers and the slow addition of new power plants is one of the main drivers of the prices.
The industry is still trying to figure out, how do we serve those data centers without customers incurring additional costs to serve those data centers.
A spokesperson for PJM told WUSA 9 you can expect it to add anywhere from 1 to 5% more to your monthly Pepco or BG&E bill, and those increases come in the summer of 2026.
Okay, I got you. Makes sense, but I don't like it, but it makes sense.
While we continue to deal with last year's auction's increased prices.
Here we go again.
In Maryland, Matt Gregory, WUSA 9.
Now, over the summer, lawmakers in Maryland approved the Legislative Energy Relief Refund. That set up 2 refunds for eligible Pepco customers up to $40 each. To be eligible, you must have an active residential account as of June 1st of this year and use electricity during the 12-month period ending March 31st of this year. You also must be an active account holder during the billing month when that credit is applied, and that credit will be based on your history of energy usage. Now, you don't need to do anything extra to get the credit. It'll automatically be applied to your bill. Check your August and September bills to make sure that credit for this year has actually been applied. The next credit set to be issued in February. Pepco has also begun the process to raise bills next year to pay for improvements to the electrical grid. Many federal clean energy tax credits are ending sooner than planned because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law back in July. 2 expire December 31st. That's the residential clean energy credit for things like solar panels and battery storage. The other is the energy efficient home improvement credit for installing energy efficient windows or heat pumps. If you get those things installed before the end of the year, you can apply for that credit when you file your taxes. You have a little more time to install an electric vehicle charger. That doesn't end until June 30th of next year. The credit for new and used clean vehicles ended back in September. Well, many financial experts agree now is one of the best times to save on a new car. Dealerships now have those pick up from the top, please. Okay. 3, 2. Well, many financial experts agree now is one of the best times to save on a new car. Dealerships now have 2026 models on the lot and they need to clear out space. But even with the end of the year deals, you could still be left paying more, all because of the new tariffs the Trump administration put into place this year. Wisdom Martin explains.
From car parts to car sales, President Trump's tariffs have shaken up the auto industry this year. But does that mean buyers are paying more?
As far as the consumers are concerned, not much.
Joseph Yoon with Edmunds says prices for the 2026 models haven't accelerated like many auto experts expected.
Automakers have chosen to basically absorb the costs on their end. I think going into the next year, we're likely to see some pricing changes happen.
Most newly imported cars are subject to a 15 to 25% tariff. The Trump administration is hoping the added tax will push many automakers to open plants in the United States and create more jobs back home. While many automakers are absorbing tariff costs, buyers are still experiencing sticker shock as automakers continue to recover from the impacts of the pandemic, according to Yoon.
Used car prices are still very high.
Data from Kelley Blue Book shows the average transaction price for a new car last month was just over $49,000. That's roughly $10,500 higher than 5 years ago. But those high prices haven't put the brakes on sales. If you are in the market for a new car, Yoon suggests waiting until the end of the year when dealers begin slashing prices on older inventory. Do your research. The longer a car sits on the lot, the more negotiating power you have. And the more inventory they have, the better deal you'll get.
All right, maybe getting ready for the new year includes getting a new job, but think twice before tapping in AI to help you land it. We've got expert advice about the pitfalls of technology on the job market when we come back.
This morning, more new homes hitting the market in the D.C. area. Year to date, about 67,000 new listings compared to about 63,000 last year. That extra inventory is changing the dynamic.
With the government layoffs, right, there are a lot of changes there. We had the tariffs, interest rates were continued to be high. And so with more inventory, that means homes were sitting on the market a little bit longer. So sellers then were willing to negotiate, whereas last year with supply and demand, they didn't have to.
Homes on average are now sitting on the market about 22 days, up from just 13 days last year, making some sellers nervous.
They're not living there, it's vacant, then obviously, you know, they need someone to pay that mortgage, and so they'll rent it out and hope for in the spring or by next year the market improves.
Even with slower sales, prices haven't fallen off a cliff. According to this latest report, the median sold price in the DC Metro was $630,000 in November. That's up 5% year over year from last November. So prices are holding steady. But the Federal Reserve just cut its benchmark interest rate by a quarter point earlier this month.
Rates are at its lowest this year, and it's a good time for people to get into the market. But more importantly, in the winter months, sellers are more willing to negotiate. There are more homes on the market. Some sellers then consider taking it off because of the holidays.
And there are a few tips to get a better deal. To start, negotiate more than just the price. You'll want to shop around for a loan. Different lenders offer different interest rates and terms. And ask about rate locks and temporary or permanent buy downs to lower your monthly payment.
Well, an easy way to make sure your finances are set for the new year is making sure you are protected against scams. The Better Business Bureau says scammers are now using something called ghost tapping that secretly charges you money without you even knowing it. They do this by exploiting the tap to pay technology on your smartphone. The scammers may invade your personal space in public or pretend to be a vendor at events like flea markets or festivals. You can protect yourself by using an RFID blocking wallet or credit card sleeve, and take your time when you pay. Speeding through this process could make you miss red flags that you're being scammed. Turn on transaction alerts from your bank so you can track when your card is charged. Well, maybe the new year means a new job. For years, experts have been praising technology for its advances in helping people find work. But now some employers say they are tired of candidates who rely too much on things like AI to curate their resume and cover letter.
Well, I think employers are worried about overuse of AI.
Daniel Zhao, chief economist at the job search site Glassdoor, said when he was recently hiring interns, about half the candidates had clearly used AI to write their resumes, cover letters, and responses.
It can be very hard to pick and choose between two candidates who are both using the same process.
Employers surveyed by the career resource site CV Genius identified AI-generated content as the biggest red flag when hiring someone. 74% of employers said they can spot an AI-generated job application, and more than half said they're significantly less likely to hire a candidate who relies on AI.
I think this is a huge problem that a lot of job seekers don't think about. If everybody is using AI to edit their resume, edit their cover letter, then how do you actually stand out?
Zhao says AI has moved some companies to place more value on the human touch.
When employers see that something is written by that candidate and they know that it hasn't been written AI, they have more confidence that that's based on that candidate's skills and experiences.
Doris Biggs is currently employed at an office in New York. She says she's not against using AI, just not for landing a job.
I am the personal touch kind of person. It shows your authentic self. I mean, then the person really knows.
Zhao says you don't have to abandon AI entirely. There can still be a place for it in the job search.
Using AI for proofreading, that's totally fine, especially if it's your resume or your cover letter. When you start to get into things that are supposed to be in your own words, that's where it's riskier to use AI.
More employers looking for less artificial intelligence and more human intelligence in their next hire. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Experts also say personal anecdotes can help you stand out from a stack of AI-written job applications. Well, people aren't just looking for new jobs in the new year. A survey finds many folks are picking up side jobs to make ends meet. For younger generations, the side hustle culture is also unlocking new opportunities to follow their passions. Experts are sharing other ways to stretch that budget without burning out. Here's Wisdom Martin.
Anna Worm is an administrative assistant by day and a dog walker whenever else she can.
I have about 5 dogs that I walk consistently each week, and then one-offs every once in a while.
Worm sets her own schedule through Rover and says pounding the pavement has been a financial boost.
Living in New York is really expensive, so I knew that if I was going to be here, I needed a second source of income to be able to live the life that I want to live.
A recent Bankrate survey found just over a quarter of Americans have side hustles. That's actually the lowest percentage since 2017, and most are using that extra dough for discretionary spending.
What's going on here is that the job market's been solid and wage growth has outpaced inflation for the past 3 years. People are catching up.
With the average side hustler making $900 a month, it's enough to pay down some debt or sock away for a rainy day.
Good.
It's also a way to turn a hobby into gainful employment.
I wanted to incorporate an activity into making money.
29-year-old Brianna Mertens picked up pickleball when she was in between jobs. The tennis player figured she could teach pickleball lessons.
Like more to the side.
It went from a side hustle to a full-time gig as a club pro. But Mertens still books private lessons on the side with an app called Teach Me Too.
I'm able to pocket some extra money after bills are paid.
She encourages anyone even considering a side hustle to take a swing at it.
Don't be hesitant. Try it. You can make $5 in a day and make $100 tomorrow.
And that passion could become permanent.
Out the kitchen, out the kitchen.
All right, we've covered a lot of information over the last hour. We've made it easy to go back and watch all these stories again. You'll find this entire Where's the Money special streaming on WUSA 9 Plus. It's available right now on your schedule. Just download Plus to your smart TV and watch for free. And we'd love to know what matters most to your wallet. Just send your story ideas and questions to our dedicated email. That is money@WUSA9.com, and we'll work hard to make sure that your financial questions are covered. And if you want a direct link to our money stories, just text the word money to the number on your screen. It is 202-895-5599. We'll text you right back with a link to a special section on our website, WUSA9.com, dedicated to saving you money. Thanks so much for watching our WUSA9 Where's the Money special. I'm Marcella Robertson. We'll see you later.